This is a true Chinese folk song about a place called Fengyang. It tells of the long suffering of the Chinese people, of the invasion and continued misery, and of the hope for eventual freedom.
We're talking about the artists community, working with the director of color, working with artists of color technicians, so that there is that sensibility present, really, you know. And sometimes even with, it should be said, with the community, the creative community of color, that sensibility is warped.
All of August Wilson's stuff was about the beauties of the culture, the idiosyncrasies of the culture that one may not understand who's outside of it, but those who are within it understand it fully, and would encourage those who are outside to do a little more work to understand it, because it may help them to dismantle some of the stereotypes that they've learned through film.
This industry, Hollywood, film industry, for many years has allowed, just as they have with the Native Americans and many other ethnicities, have allowed them to be stereotyped for a very long time, where those images go out to the world and often are believed by many of the populace of the world that that's how that person, those people are. Well, if that's the only image that's going out, that's not going to work.
Not a lot of time has passed in relationship to African Americans being able to reverse the lens.
Paul Robeson, much admired Paul Robeson. He had a very successful career. This man was the most popular artist in the world, not just black artist, but the most popular artist in the world in the early 40s. Film, he was duped more than once, more than twice, more than a few times, into films that later he denounced all but one, Proud Valley.
I think the lens has probably been, unfortunately, more powerfully detrimental. And I think the stage has been more powerfully beneficial. Conditioning can take place, perceptions can take place. Falsehoods can actually be kind of instilled because you can kind of run it over and over and over and over again and reach a larger population of people.
Okay, is this the image? Is this the only image? We're talking in the 30s. We're talking when Shuffle Along was on Broadway. We're talking, it's before Paul did Othello on Broadway. I think early in his career, before he matured in his own way of thinking about racism and being used and having a strong social consciousness, understanding Jim Crow and how even in England when he did Sanders of the River, he was promised that things would happen with the film would go this way. And when he saw the film,
I am Malava, son of Zaburu.
he was extremely disappointed and pretty angry about it all, so angry that he tried to buy up all the reels so that they wouldn't be shown, but it didn't work. I think you know, it was deception.
Because Paul Robeson's films were not on an isolated island. This man was dealing with his life being threatened on a regular basis, having to break through barriers on a regular basis, accomplish all the goals that American society said you needed to accomplish by way of education and study and accomplishment. And then when he gave his voice an opportunity to be heard in its essence, there was backlash. We as human beings are flawed. Contradictions are within us. And sometimes we don't intend to do a piece a certain way, and because it's on film, there's opportunities for it to be manipulated.
He wanted freedom, is what he was up to. Freedom, real freedom, true freedom. That was something that we wanted to celebrate, wanted to reflect in the work we did, and let that work sustain and mirror a social consciousness. Do work that had a substance to it, that was still theater. My definition of acting is that one takes their experiences and molds it to a script, a play that has some familiarity, some similarity, something that is connected to that artist.
Americans, you boast of your love of liberty, your superior civilization, and your pure Christianity, whilst the whole political power of your country has solemnly pledged to support and perpetuate the enslavement of 3 million of your countrymen. You invite to your shores fugitives of oppression abroad, but the fugitives in your own land you advertise, hunt, arrest, shoot, and kill. You are all on fire at the mention of liberty for France and for Ireland, but are as cold as icebergs at the thought of liberty for enslaved America. You can bare your bosom to the storm of British artillery to throw off a 3-penny tax on tea, yet wring the very last hard-earned farthing from the grasp of the black laborer in your country. You profess to believe that of one blood God made all nations of men to dwell on the face of the earth and hath commanded. That was a piece from Frederick Douglass, from a piece called Mine Eyes Have Seen.
Who wrote it?
Several people. History professors did a compilation of letters from the Civil War. And my character was Frederick Douglass, an emancipated slave. I was really concerned about how the African-American voice would be represented. And when I was told that that was what they were trying to do with it, then I wanted to make sure that I had the opportunity to assess the material, to make sure that our humanity was being expressed appropriately as best I could. I felt it my task to kind of make sure that if I'm going to be a part of it, that if I see some inconsistencies or some stereotypical depictions as an actor, as an educator, as an activist, it's my role to bring that to the attention of the artist.
Who has the right to write about a specific ethnicity? Is that exclusive to that ethnicity? Or does anyone who can or chooses to have that right? How does that work? Who has the right? Is some kind of exclusivity in there? I don't think so. I think if one has talent, if one has an ability, if someone really has a desire and call it judgmental, has a real reason, then, and they're good at it, they should.
It's always good to have more than one perspective about a particular event or set of situations.
Watching the creative process happen with a group of creative people. We hear those stories. It happened to me. Probably happened to you. You see a story and that's why you're a filmmaker. You want to do something. You know, I wanted to do something. I wanted to tell certain kinds of stories and have a forum to do that. Roby Theater Company. Just exchanges, simple exchanges of opinions with people. Those were inspirational. I wanted to do that in a formal way, in an entertaining way, in a fun way.
It's a very spiritual thing for me, synonymous to the Black church, synonymous to rites of passage programs, synonymous to pilgrimages back to your place of origin, wherever your indigenous reality is, and finding ways to like connect with that through the forms of expression and communication that were left or still exist. It's in my mind on par with that because it creates a certain sense of safety, a certain sense of comfort that is not often experienced outside of this reality. Because I'm not an artist for the sake of being confirmed. I'm being an artist for my own reasons.
How did they feel about it? It's going to be different because they all come from different experience and have different prisms that they look through the story at and the characters and moments in the play. That's just the way it is. And that's pretty much the way it should be. When a revelation is made in a piece of work, and we're talking theater here, when a revelation is made, sometimes you can't articulate, or a person, one, cannot articulate what the revelation is, but they felt something. There was something emotional, an intangible, that comes from a visceral place that moves them, that may even change them.
说凤阳，道凤阳，凤阳本是好地方。自从出了朱皇帝，10年到有9年荒。大人家吃长夜，小人家